The Honourable Carl McGinn.
Thank you, President. And I am looking forward to finally being able to respond to some of the comments in this morning's non-government business. Particularly just want to note from the start that when the motion was moved and every speaker thereafter on the opposing side kept trying to say, get us to get up and talk. Well, I want to put on the record that I stood every single time to seek the call, but wasn't given it this morning. So now I rise to bring into it some reality checks for the opposition that I don't think that they put on the record this morning, and a few honourable members that refuse to acknowledge some of the disgraceful acts that have happened from the opposition in respect of regional representation. So firstly, I would like to start with addressing representation within the regions by having one electorate. I have absolutely no doubt that the Labor Party will continue to represent regional Western Australia and have their offices in regional Western Australia. I have fears that the opposition won't do that, because their track record in that space is horrendous, President, absolutely horrendous. And I'm going to go through it, and I hope you're listening, honourable members, because you threw a lot of dirt out this morning but didn't cop much of it back, and now we have the opportunity to put it on the record. So firstly, I want to start. The Honourable James Hayward had a very passionate speech this morning about regional representation and being in the regions and having your offices in the regions. Well, the Honourable James Hayward, one of your very close friends, I'm aware, who is also aligned with with the member for North West Central, I'll have to say his name properly, the Big Nick Fardell, who was #1 on the mining and pastoral ticket in the election in 2021. Let's be very clear, #1. He was your #1 pick to be in this House and represent the National Party in the Legislative Council that you seem so concerned about, but you're not concerned about the comments that this person has made about this place. And let's put this on the record. On Monday, the 3rd of May, Big Nick himself was on ABC Goldfields Radio and asked about the review of electoral reform. Big Nick said the review doesn't go far enough because it's ruled out abolishing the Legislative Council. The National Party's #1 pre-selected candidate for the mining and pastoral electorate wants to abolish this place. And you stand up in this place and you talk to us about regional representation. I tell you now, you need to take a rain check, mate, because your #1 on the ticket doesn't even want to have representation in the regions or Western Australia from this House. So the interview says, and this is going to clarify it for you, member, so have a good listen because you failed to acknowledge it this morning. He said, I am a fan of scrapping it. It works in other places where we are the most overrepresented population in the world. He's saying that there is too much representation in this state, too much. He also says, I'm going to do a petition to say who wants to save $50 million and get rid of 36 politicians. Get rid of 36. Now, we're proposing 37, one region, and your party had someone representing you who wanted to abolish the upper house and save $50 million.
Order.
That is an absolute disgrace. $50 million, he says. A lot of people in the upper house are nameless people and faceless people, so we don't know about them. If you're going to be fair dinkum, rule that in and have a fair dinkum conversation. It will save $50 million a year, and I'm sure everyone who pays taxes would like the government to save $50 million a year. That is disgraceful. #1 on your ticket, part of your little crew, that you got pre-selected in the mining and pastoral electorate. I want to have a mention here. The Honourable former member Jackie Boydell had her office in the regions. She was in Port Hedland, she was in Karratha, but she got pushed out of the way for this guy who wanted to abolish the house he was running for. What a joke! You want to stand here and talk about regional representation. Be honest to the constituents. Don't lie, mate, because this is so obvious.
Order.
And I
Order.
can tell you right now,
Order.
there's more to come.
Order. I invite the honourable member to direct his comments through the chair.
Thank you, President. And so I just get a little bit passionate when I hear all this flow of garbage this morning that was coming from the opposition and goading us in to speak, but yet couldn't get the call. So I'm really enjoying putting this on the record. Now to the Liberal Party. Here we go. This is fun. Let's go back to the clan. So, by the Liberal Party's own assessment, their own assessment in their report, which they've done nothing about, because we see the power brokers are still swanning around, absolutely free, no retribution. So I quote from this report, an example of substantial decline in the party membership is the appalling lack of infrastructure in the northwest. That of the 69 branches in the federal seat of Durack, just 14 are constitutional, in the sense of having pre-selection entitlements, while another 3 are otherwise constitutional, given the constitutional number of members for a country branch is 10. There is no excuse for this appalling state of affairs. Unbelievable. You can't even operate a Liberal Party branch, President, can't even operate a Liberal Party branch, and they're talking to us about regional representation. I find it hilarious. And the Honourable Neil Thompson...
Order.
Thank you, President. The Honourable Neil Thompson should look back at his ag member from the last term, Jim Chown, and ask himself this one question. The member for the agriculture region for the Liberal Party, where was his office? Where was his office? It was in, wait for it, West Perth. It was in West Perth, members. And that's not the only one. Isn't it hilarious that we sit here, and you know why they're so petrified of this reform? Because they can't put themselves in the regions when it does have regions allocated. So the Honourable Jim Chown doesn't have an office in the last term, didn't have an office in his electorate. But it gets better, members, it gets better, because I did a little bit more research, and the member that moved the motion, I found quite interesting when I did some research, and I found, for Hansard's benefit, I have here a picture of the Honourable Martin Aldridge's website when he first started here in the Legislative Council. Very passionate for the regions, he says, in his beautiful memoir. But then if you look at the contact details, Martin Aldridge MLC, member for the Ag region, my office is level 1, 8 Parliament Place, West Perth. Oh my God! How many times do we have to point out that the opposition, they work on fear and loathing? That is what they do constantly.
Order.
We,
Order.
the Labor Party,
Order.
have proven our officers in the region, we listen to our constituents, we do not have...
Order.
Good job.
Order.
Good job.
Order. The Honourable Kyle McGinn.
You know, the Honourable
Order.
Neil Thompson will learn a quick 15 seconds inside a paper doesn't make you a good politician. So what you're going to have here, members, is throughout this debate, President, throughout this debate, I applaud to my constituents and to the people of Western Australia.
Order, member. No interjections, please, members. The Honourable Kyle McGinn.
Do not fall victim to the fear and the dribble that you will see come out of the opposition. Because even when it's in place now with the current structure, they still can't represent the regions properly. They have their offices outside the regions, and it is going to be interesting to see how they will operate under this new reform. And I will say this, that when the electorate votes, and it's an equal vote, and they have the opportunity to vote for parties that are structured and have 500 members and have been a party for longer than a year or 6 months. These are things that will bring integrity back into politics. And I agree with the comments from the Minister this morning. We will see, if you read this report, the minor parties will still play a part in this House. Absolutely. It's just a shame that the opposition has a position on telling lies instead of representing their constituents in the regions.